Hey YouTubers, Jennifer Tardy here, your career success coach, and you're back for this week's video. I get so excited about doing these videos, and guess what? Today we're going to talk about how to network after applying to a job. And I'm going to talk to you about 4 different ways that you can actually network after you apply for a job. So stick around all the way until the very end, and if you like what you see in this video, subscribe. We have so many additional videos and you don't want to miss one. All right, so let's get right into it. So most people believe that you can apply for a job, and once you click submit, then magic happens, and that recruiters are going to see your application first, and they're going to know that you are the person for this position. But that's not always what happens, and oftentimes we have to do a little bit more to get ahead of our competition being other job seekers. Okay, so networking is the name of this game, and the reason why my clients tend to get so many callbacks is not because they may have the greatest resume ever or the greatest experience ever. It's because they're doing the follow-up work as well. So let's talk about the networking piece. One of the first things that I recommend to all job seekers is that after you press submit for that application, you go to LinkedIn. I'm a huge advocate of LinkedIn, but you go to LinkedIn and you search for a recruiter within that organization. If the organization is large enough to have a recruiting team, you'll be able to find a recruiter. Notice I didn't say find the recruiter, I said find a recruiter. And once you find a recruiter, introduce yourself to that recruiter. Now, sometimes with LinkedIn, recruiters will actually attach themselves to a specific job opening. If you're that lucky to see who the recruiter is within that organization who's working on that specific job that you've applied to, be sure to introduce yourself to that recruiter in that instance. But for everyone else, find a recruiter. And if you cannot find a recruiter, find someone who works at that organization in that department who looks like they could potentially be one of the managers over that opening, but it takes a little bit of research. Either way, once you find the person that you're looking for, introduce yourself to that person. And networking is a pure introduction, and it says, hello, I'm Jennifer Tardy. I applied to this position. Give the requisition number and the job title in your introduction so they can know specifically the position that you've applied to. So in the introduction, I'm Jennifer Tardy. I've applied to this position. I've done a lot of research on this organization. I'm really excited about it. I wanted to know if by chance you have some time to connect over the phone. If you're not the right person for me to speak to, would you be able to share with me who would be the right person? Period. Of course, clean it up a little, because this was just me brainstorming out loud about what this introduction should look like. But you get the essence of it. It's a pure introduction. Tell them who you are, the position that you've applied to, and then what is your call to action? You're asking them, can you talk to them sometime about this position? And if they're not the right person, can they help you to find the right person? Easy breezy, right? So that's the first person that you need to network with. The second person that you need to network with is someone within that department that you're interested in working at that organization, but someone high up at that department. And my preference is reaching right out to an executive. Why do I say that? Because most people are too intimidated to reach directly out to executives at organizations, that executives receive few emails from job seekers. You would think that they would be inundated with emails from job seekers. But I can tell you that as the head of recruitment, that I've seen constantly emails that have come over to me from executives that have said, hey, this person reached out to me. It doesn't really happen too often, so I thought that I'd send it over to you to review. And I get those resumes, I send them directly on to the recruiter, and I'll ask the recruiter to take a look at it, specifically because it came from an executive, and I need to follow back up with that executive. Get it? So in your instance, it's the same introduction. It's the introduction. Hey, I'm such and such. I applied to this position at your company. I've done a lot of research and I've heard that this is a great organization to work in. I'd love to know if you have a few minutes to chat more about this position, or if you think that there's a better person for me to speak with, could you connect me? So that's again the introduction, it's the position that you've applied to, and it's the call to action. Never end an email without a call of action in that email, okay guys? All right, so that's number 2, reaching out to a VP or higher or an executive within the organization. Number 3, it is completely acceptable, especially for larger organizations. I wouldn't do it if it's only like 3 people in the organization, but it's also okay to reach out to an employee. Look to see who's in your network that maybe you're connected to in your network that works at that organization, or maybe you're connected to someone who's connected to an employee at that company. 6 degrees of separation, right? We all know someone. But even if you don't know an employee at that network, but there is someone who works in that specific department, you can introduce yourself to them. So, and it's the same method of introduction, okay? Now, a disclaimer here. Do not reach out to all of them on the same day, number 1. So give it some time. Give it a week to see if the recruiter gets back to you. If they don't, then reach out to the executive. If they don't get back to you, then reach out to the employee. That's disclaimer number 1. Disclaimer number 2, I mentioned this a quick second ago, but also pay attention to the size of the organization. If there are only 10 employees at that organization in general, they're going to all talk about you, and they're going to all say, why is this person stalking me about this position? Now, if it's a larger organization, odds are they're not talking to each other anyway, and it is completely okay to reach out to all 3 people. Use your own wise judgment in this moment to create your own plan. So those are 3 ways to network and introduce yourself. But all of these, if you've noticed, they're all online, and your call to action is, can we get a phone call together, or can we meet to talk more about this position live? Now, the 4th way that I recommend is go to a live event that you either know this organization is going to be a part of, or that they're sponsoring, or they're actually going to have a booth. So think about some sort of recruiting event, or maybe it's a networking opportunity in the local community. Either way, you know that someone is going to be there for that organization, and you want to be where they are. And when you do find this event, and most of these events, recruiting events specifically, can be found on their website on somewhere around the careers page. They're going to talk about what schools they're going to be at, what conferences they're planning to attend. You can probably also find it on LinkedIn as well too, where you have company events on that page as well. So follow that company, find out where they're going to be, and then go to that event and introduce yourself in the same fashion. Bring a copy of your resume if it's a specific recruiting event. Walk up to a representative of that organization. Hopefully it's either a recruiter or someone management higher within the organization, and say, hi, I'm such and such. I specifically came here to speak to someone at your organization. I've applied to such and such position, and I'd love to hear more about the position. Could you tell me a little bit more about it, or ask some very specific questions that you may have in general. These are excellent ways of getting your name at the top of the list for the organization. Do not forget to network. Network is key. Network is where a lot of people fail, where a lot of people drop off because they don't want to do that work behind getting the job. You will always hear me say that getting a job is like having a job, And getting a job, a big part of it is that networking piece as well too. So I hope that this information helped. And if it did, let us know by subscribing to this video. Let us also know in the comment section what you've done to network as well too. That's really important. Tell us what you've done to network on your own and how has that worked out for you. We always love to get more tools and tips to share with our community. So until we meet again, this is Jennifer Tardy. I'm your career success coach, and I'll see you soon. Take care.